Project 2025. Like, comment, subscribe. This is not everything from the Project 2025 agenda. Yes, there is a whole lot more. I just decided to post some of what I found interesting. These points are taken directly from the Project 2025 agenda itself. Feel free to look them up for yourself. THE website is below. Eliminate the Head Start program. Prioritize funding for home-based childcare, not universal day care. Federal education policy should be limited and, ultimately, the Federal Department of Education should be eliminated. Taxpayers should expect their investments in higher education to generate economic productivity. When the federal government lends money to individuals for a post-secondary education, taxpayers should expect those borrowers to repay. The new administration must end the practice of acting like the federal student loan portfolio is a campaign fund to curry political support and votes. The new administration must end abuses in the loan forgiveness programs. Borrowers should be expected to repay their loans. Enforcement of civil rights should be based on a proper understanding of those laws, rejecting gender ideology and critical race theory. Office of Federal Student Aid, also known as the FSA. The next administration should completely reverse the student loan federalization of 2010 and work with Congress to spin FSA and its student loan obligations to a new government corporation with professional governance and management. With a statutory charge that it preserves the federal student loan portfolio for the benefit of the taxpayers and students, this new entity would be one professionally governed by an agency head and board of trustees appointed by the President. Office for Civil Rights, OCR, should move to the Department of Justice. The federal government has an essential responsibility to enforce civil rights protections, but Washington should do so through the Department of Justice and federal courts. The OCR at DOJ should be able to enforce only through litigation. Assistance to states for the education of children with disabilities. Preschool grants for children with disabilities, equity and IDEA. Effective January 18, 2017, the department issued final regulations under Part B of IDEA that require states to consider race and ethnicity in the identification, placement, and discipline of students with disabilities. The new administration should rescind this regulation. Phase out existing income-driven repayment plans. While income-driven repayment, IDR, of student loans is a superior approach relative to fixed payment plans, the number of IDR plans has proliferated beyond reason. And recent IDR plans are so generous that they require no or only token repayment from many students. Reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs because the politicized approval process was illegal from the start. Prohibit abortion travel funding. Prohibit Planned Parenthood from receiving Medicaid funds. Withdraw Medicaid funds for states that require abortion insurance or that discriminate in violation of the Weldon Amendment. Eliminate the week after pill from the contraceptive mandate as a potential abortifacient. Address weaknesses in the current FAERS, FDA Adverse Events Reporting System. The administration and policymakers should ensure that healthcare workers, particularly those in hospitals and emergency rooms, report abortion pill complications. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. With the goal of being a societal safety net, Medicare and Medicaid touch more American lives than does any other federal program. While they help many, the Presidential Transition Project operate as runaway entitlements that stifle medical innovation, encourage fraud, and impede cost containment, in addition to which their fiscal future is in peril. Both programs should be managed so that the individuals enrolled are empowered to make decisions for themselves and have quality options with affordable prices driven by competition and innovation. Providers who participate should retain, or have restored, the freedom to practice medicine and take care of their patients according to their patients' unique needs. Add work requirements and match Medicaid benefits to beneficiary needs. Reverse the DEI revolution in labor policy. Under the Obama and Biden administrations, labor policy was yet another target of the diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI revolution. Under this managerialist left-wing race and gender ideology, every aspect of labor policy became a vehicle with which to advance race, sex, and other classifications and discriminate against conservative and religious viewpoints on these subjects and others, including pro-life views. The next administration should eliminate every one of these wrongful and burdensome ideological projects. Eliminate racial classifications and critical race theory trainings. The Biden administration has pushed racial equity in every area of our national life, including in employment, and has condoned the use of racial classifications and racial preferences under the guise of DEI and critical race theory, which categorizes individuals as oppressors and victims based on race. Non-discrimination and equality are the law, DEI is not. 25 flatly prohibits discrimination in employment on the basis of race, color, and national origin. Issue an executive order banning, and Congress should pass a law prohibiting the federal government from using taxpayer dollars to fund all critical race theory training. CRT. Eliminate EEO-1 data collection. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission collects EEO-1 data on employment statistics based on race/ethnicity, which data can then be used to support a charge of discrimination under a disparate impact theory. This could lead to racial quotas to remedy alleged race discrimination. The Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFCCP, also has a right to the data EEOC collects. Crudely categorizing employees by race or ethnicity fails to recognize the diversity of the American workforce and forces individuals into categories that do not fully reflect their racial and ethnic heritage. Sex discrimination. The Biden administration, LGBT advocates, and some federal courts have attempted to expand the scope and definition of sex discrimination, based in part on the Supreme Court's decision in Bostock v. Clayton County. Bostock held that an employer who fires someone simply for being homosexual or transgender violates Title VII's prohibition against sex discrimination. The court explicitly limited its holding to the hiring/firing context in Title VII and did not purport to address other Title VII issues, such as bathrooms, locker rooms, and dress codes, or other laws prohibiting sex discrimination. Notably, the court focused on the status of the employees and used the term transgender status rather than the broader and amorphous term gender identity. Restrict the application of Bostock. The new administration should restrict Bostock's application of sex discrimination protections to sexual orientation and transgender status in the context of hiring and firing. Withdraw unlawful notices and guidances. The President should direct agencies to withdraw unlawful notices and guidances purporting to apply Bostock's reasoning broadly outside hiring and firing. Rescind regulations prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, and sex characteristics. The President should direct agencies to rescind regulations interpreting sex discrimination provisions as prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, sex characteristics, etc. Congress should clarify that the regular rate for overtime pay is based on the salary paid rather than all benefits provided. This would enable employers to offer additional benefits to employees without fear that those benefits would dramatically increase overtime pay. Congress should provide flexibility to employers and employees to calculate the overtime period over a longer number of weeks. Specifically, employers and employees should be able to set a 2- or 4-week period over which to calculate overtime. This would give workers greater flexibility to work more hours in one week and fewer hours in the next, and would not require the employer to pay them more for that same total number of hours of work during the entire period. Will Project 2025 hurt or help you? You decide. Like I said at the beginning, look it up for yourself. The website is below. Also, don't waste your vote by not voting at all.